All right, let's get right into it. We're going deep, deep underwater into some of the most extreme environments you can imagine. But the real journey we're taking today is inside the human mind. We're going to look at cave divers. These are highly trained, incredibly skilled people, and try to understand the powerful psychological forces that can push even the best of the best to break their own rules, sometimes with tragic results.
You know, this quote from an old caving journal from 1974 just says it all, doesn't it? Every single diver, no matter how much experience they have, is walking this razor-thin line. And understanding the psychology that keeps you on the right side of that line, well, it isn't just some academic exercise. For these explorers, it is literally a matter of life and death.
So to really get what's going on in a diver's head, we first have to try and see the cave through their eyes. Now, to most of us, a flooded cave sounds like the stuff of nightmares, right? But perception is everything, and it changes dramatically depending on who you are.
Check this out. There is a huge gap in how people see the risk. A study found that regular open water divers see cave diving as more than twice as dangerous as certified cave divers do. Now, this isn't cave divers being arrogant. It's about trust. They trust their training, they trust their very specialized gear, and most of all, they trust their ability to handle the risks. They feel like they're in control. And for a good long while, the data really seemed to back up that confidence. This 80% number, that's the high end of fatalities between 1969 and 2007 that involved divers who had zero cave training. So the message seemed crystal clear: get trained, be safe. But just as the community was celebrating this, a really troubling new pattern started to show up. And here is the central mystery we're looking into today. While the total number of deaths has gone down, which is great, recent research shows this really disturbing trend. The proportion of deaths involving fully trained cave divers has been climbing. It's even hit 100% in some years. So think about that. Training is essential, but it is not a magical shield. Something else is going on down there in the dark. To figure out what's happening, we have to go where they go. So let's talk about the environment itself and how it puts a unique kind of psychological pressure on a person. Just try to imagine this for a second. You're surrounded by absolute, total darkness, broken only by the single beam of your flashlight. The only sounds you hear are the clanging of your tanks, the thumping of your own heart, and the rhythmic sound of your own breathing. This kind of extreme sensory deprivation basically cuts your brain off from the outside world. You're forced to make life or death calls in a total void. So you have to ask, what kind of person is actually drawn to an environment that most people would find completely terrifying? Well, it turns out they tend to have a very specific psychological profile. Yeah, decades of research on divers, from military to sport, show this really consistent profile. These aren't just your average thrill seekers. They have a deep-seated need for adventure. They have this powerful belief that they are in control of their own destiny, and that's combined with a naturally low level of anxiety and a really powerful sense of optimism. And this all fits under a core personality trait that psychologists call sensation seeking. For a sensation seeker, the reward of the experience, the thrill, the discovery, the feeling of mastery, that's the main driver. They're willing to take on the risk, not because they're blind to it, but because they see it as the price you pay for an absolutely incredible experience. And for some people, it's an even deeper sensory thing. Get this. Some divers talk about feeling anti-claustrophobia. They say the constant, gentle pressure of the water and being in that enclosed space is actually incredibly calming. It's like a welcome escape from the sensory overload of the world up top. It's scratching a very unique itch for them. Okay, so we've got our profile, a confident, optimistic person, driven by powerful sensations. But the very same mindset that gets them into the cave in the first place, well, it might also be the source of the problem. We are now heading into the danger zone. We're going to use hard data to see exactly why these highly trained divers end up breaking their own rules. The results from a major survey of cave divers are, frankly, they're shocking. A staggering 64%, almost 2/3, of certified divers admitted to not running a primary guideline from the entrance. Nearly half said they'd made visual jumps, which means just eyeballing the distance between two guidelines instead of connecting them. And 16% admitted to breaking the fundamental rules about managing their air supply. These are not rare mistakes. This is a widespread pattern of behavior. Let's just focus on that top violation for a second. That continuous line is your only guaranteed ticket back to the surface if the visibility drops to zero. Choosing not to run one isn't just cutting a corner, it's throwing away the single most important safety rule in all of cave diving. This is a massive clue that something is overriding years of training.
So who do you picture doing this? The logical guess would be the younger, maybe more reckless divers, right? The ones who still feel a little bit invincible? Well, the data has a bit of a surprise for us on that one.
Yeah, the data revealed something totally unexpected. It's a clear pattern. The older and more experienced a cave diver gets, the less risky they perceive the sport to be. It's the veterans, not the newbies, whose sense of danger seems to actually fade over time.
So let's break this down. Who's breaking which rules? Well, skipping that main guideline is more common among younger guys. But making those risky visual jumps, that's predicted by having more experience. And now for the most important finding of the whole study. How risky a diver thought cave diving was had no real connection to whether they actually broke the rules. This tells us something huge. It's not that the rule breakers feel safer. There's another force at work.
Okay, let's start making our way back to the surface and try to piece all of this together. What can we actually learn from this deep dive into the diver's brain that can help keep people safe out there?
We come right back to this piece of wisdom from 1974, guard against overconfidence. We just saw it in the data. Age and experience, the very things you'd think would make you safer, can actually lead to a lower perception of risk and make you more likely to break certain rules. Complacency, it turns out, is the real monster in the cave. And this right here, this is the core of it. The psychological trap isn't about miscalculating the odds of something going wrong. It's about being so captivated by the reward, what researchers call the transcendent benefits of the dive, that it just shouts down your rational brain. The beauty, the thrill, that feeling of exploration, it all becomes so compelling that the rules start to feel like they're getting in the way of the experience, instead of being the very thing that makes the experience possible.
So, after all of this, what do you think is the single most dangerous piece of equipment a cave diver takes with them into the water? Is it their breathing regulator, their tanks, their dive light? It's your own brain. It's the one piece of gear that can tell you and convince you that you're the one exception to the rule, that your experience is a shield, that the reward waiting just around the next corner is worth a risk that has killed other people. So, the way forward has to be through psychological self-awareness. First, know yourself. If you're that sensation-seeking type, you have to admit that the pull of the reward is your biggest weakness. Second, remember that age and experience are not armor. They can actually make you complacent. Third, master the boring stuff. The basics, like always running a guideline, are the rules that get skipped, and they are the rules that save lives. And finally, always respect that razor-thin line between confidence and panic. And really, that's the ultimate question, isn't it? It applies to any high-risk activity. It's not enough to be physically skilled and to master your equipment. The final frontier of safety is understanding and mastering yourself. Have you trained your own mind to see its blind spots and to resist that powerful, tempting whisper that says, "This time for you, the rules don't apply"?